Hi Quilty friends, I'm going to wait just a second before I officially get started on this video because it always takes Facebook a moment to notify everybody that, oops, that I'm on here. And now we're having, there we go, we're back. A little technical difficulty there. So if you haven't joined me before, I'm Natalia Bonner and I love sharing. I love machine quilting and I love sharing it here online. Just a couple of things about me. I always get lots of questions here, so I thought it would be fun to do a different type of live video today. You know, most of the live videos that I do, I'm showing more of the machine quilting and things more of that nature, but then I get so many questions emailed to me that between myself and my assistant, we're spending so much time working on answering questions. So I thought, let's try to answer those in one place, because if one person's emailing me this question, I can guarantee there's more than one person that has this question. So from starting this week, today's actually not going to, this week's gonna be a little bit different, but starting next week on Friday, every Friday, I'm going to post a new video that's a question and answer video, because there's so many of them. Some might be really long, some might be short. Where will you be able to find these question and answer videos? Occasionally they'll be live. So if you're on here live, I'm not going to do them at set times. I'm a working mom, so sometimes my videos have to be early in the day. Sometimes they have to be later in the evening. Sometimes they won't be live. They'll be the questions that you guys have asked and I'll pre-record those. So where can you find these question and answer videos every Friday? Well, every Monday I post a new video over on YouTube. If you don't already follow me over there, you should. Just search my name, it's Natalia Bonner, and there's a new machine quilting video over there every Monday. But starting next Friday, there will also be a question and answer video that I post. So it will be for sure on YouTube, but you will also sometimes be able to catch me live here on Facebook. Hi Fran, there's a few people I'm seeing are finally able. I'm trying to stagger my times a little bit more because I generally do them so early in the day that I know there's a lot of working people that, you know, 10 o'clock in the morning doesn't always work for everybody. So the question and answers, if you're on here right now and you have questions about machine quilting, I am going to be on here for about 10 minutes today answering those questions. So feel free to type them in and I will answer as many as I can. The first question, or I have a few that get asked to me all the time, so I thought it would be fun to go through and just answer those questions. And then if you guys do have more, then I'll answer those too. Okay, so the first question, probably the question I get asked more than anything else when people see me machine quilting is, are you really quilting one-handed? And I know I'm not the only person out there that quilts just one-handed, but yes, the answer is yes, I am quilting just one-handed. Then the follow-up question always is, why do you quilt one-handed? I don't have like a clear explanation for this as to why I quilt one-handed. It's just something that I've always done from the beginning. When I started out quilting, I did not have the computer on my machine. It was just free motion quilting was all I did in the beginning. And I did do a lot of pantograph patterns. If you are starting out free motion quilting, you should do lots of pantos because I can't say enough good about those. Those are a very amazing, first of all, tool that you can use to get great designs on a quilt, but also gaining control of your machine. The pantograph, the paper patterns are amazing. So you should do those if you're trying to learn how to free motion quilt. But I did a lot of those, and a lot of time when people do the pantograph patterns, they stand directly behind the machine and then they're watching the pattern. So if you've never done it before, a pantograph pattern, you're working from the back side of the machine using a laser light and tracing a pattern that the machine is then stitching onto the quilt. So when I started doing this, I like to be more in a position where I could see also kind of what was happening on the quilt. I know that my design's going to look similar to what I'm tracing, but I just loved that I could, you know, kind of look over and see what my quilting looked like. So I started out just standing more on the side of the machine and holding the machine handle with just my right hand. Then when I started getting really comfortable with my machine quilting, I started doing a lot of ruler work. I'm sure if you've seen my videos, you've seen that I use a ruler on almost every quilt. But when you do ruler work, you're using one of your hands to hold the ruler stable and the other hand to guide the machine. So I think kind of a combination of the two the working with rulers all the time, and also learning to quilt from the back of the machine with the pantograph patterns. It's just why I started quilting with only one hand. Now when I come up to my machine, if I try to hold it with two hands, I feel like I'm absolutely out of control. I can't run my machine with two hands. So that's the reason, yes, everything that I do is quilted with just one hand. So if you're just joining me now, I made a little announcement at the beginning. Starting on Fridays, I'm going to start doing question and answer videos. If you do have questions, feel free to ask those and I will answer a few of those as soon as I have a bunch that are asked all the time, but I'll answer some of those in more towards the end. Okay, so then the next question that's always asked, and I kind of laugh sometimes because people will ask questions and then other people will answer and not always have the right answer. So the next question that I get asked all the time is, do you always quilt that fast? So the speed that you're seeing, okay, I should make one little clarification here. I posted a video on Instagram yesterday that was totally sped up, just for fun. It was Halloween, I was being silly, so it was really, really fast quilting. But the speed that you're seeing on all of my YouTube videos, all the videos that I share here on Facebook, that is the speed that I quilt. So I obviously go a lot slower when I'm working with rulers, just I feel like I have better control that way. But as far as my free motion quilting, sometimes when I actually go a little bit faster, I feel like I have a little more control of the machine and can get my quilting designs to look a little bit more smooth. I feel like it's like anything, like drawing on a piece of paper. If I'm going super duper slow, trying to write in cursive, like, sign my name, then my name is going to look a little bit more sloppy than if I just, did my natural speed and wrote my name in cursive. So I do quilt faster. The reason I said that sometimes I laugh at the comments, because sometimes people will answer that question when it's been asked and say, no, everything of hers is sped up. It's not. That's my real quilting speed. Okay, so the next question that I get asked all the time is, what mode is your machine set on? So first I should answer the question, what kind of machine do I quilt on? So I do all of my machine quilting on a Gamel 22-inch machine, and I have it on the 10-foot Gamel table. I started out doing all my machine quilting. The very first machine I had was the Gamel 18-inch machine. It was a fabulous machine. I just, a couple years back, decided it was time to upgrade to a little bit larger throat space. But because I do so much hand-guided free motion quilting, I didn't want anything much bigger than that. I just feel like I have a really good control with the 18 or 22-inch size. So that's why I've stuck with that size of, kind of the smaller. I know there are way bigger machines out there, but I've stuck with kind of the smaller size, and I'm really happy with that. I do have the Statler Stitcher on my machine now, but I mostly use it for edge-to-edge type quilting. I love custom quilting and free motion quilting, so as of now, it's not something that I'm ready to totally let go of. Even though I know the computer could do a lot of what I'm doing free motion, I still just love it. Okay, so back to the question, what mode is your machine set on? So the Gamel machines do have several different modes that you could do. A lot of them so there's just the stitch regulated, there's a manual mode, and then there's a mode that's kind of like a hybrid, kind of a crossover between the two. When I started quilting, so I've quilted full time for 11 years now, and when I started, I had the very basic 18-inch machine. And I learned to stitch with my stitch regulator on, and I was just really happy with that. So that's what I've always stuck with. Every time I turn my stitch regulator off to like the manual mode or something like that, I feel so out of control. Now, when I say these things, there's nothing wrong with stitching without the stitch regulator. There's nothing wrong with any of the other modes. It's just that's what I feel comfortable with. My biggest advice when it comes to like using the different modes on the machine is put on some practice fabric and play around with them, because it's the same thing. Just because I quilt one-handed, it doesn't mean you need to quilt that way. Play around with it and see what works for you. So I do use the stitch regulated mode, and I like to keep my stitches either 10, 11, or 12 stitches per inch. I just love the look that I get with that stitch length. Okay, so then the next question I get asked all the time is, what foot are you using on your machine? So the Gammo machines do have several different feet that you can use. You know, you can change them out and different things like that. There are two of the feet that I love. Whoa, a little wild there. So there are two of the feet that I really, really love. The first one, the one that you probably, if you watch my videos, see like 90% of the time, is the ruler foot. Because I do so much ruler work, I keep my ruler foot on all the time. I feel like that it helps me visualize where I'm quilting just by keeping it on all the time. You know, if I was changing my feet out all the time, I feel like I'm just not as comfortable as I am sticking with one and kind of knowing, visualizing my spacing and all of that with the one foot. So that's my reason why I keep my ruler foot on all the time. I also, pretty much every quilt I do has a little bit of ruler work. I love the look of stitch in the ditch. I love, you know, even if it's a lot of kind of more flowy work, I'm probably going to use a ruler somewhere, unless it's computerized edge-to-edge type quilting. Obviously I'm not. However, if I am doing the computerized edge-to-edge quilting, I love the Gammo spoon foot. It's an awesome foot that, for the quilts that I've used it on, I feel like my quilts actually, the fabric lays a little bit flatter because the spoon just like glides. It's like butter over the top of the quilt. So those are the feet that I love the most. Obviously there's several more in the quick change set, but I'm kind of basic sometimes and just stick to what I know works well for me. Okay, so the next question I get asked all the time, I'll answer this one more, and then there are a few that I've seen pop up that I'll go through and answer. Okay, so the next question is, what type of batting are you using? So my very favorite batting for custom quilting is the Quilter's Dream wool batting. I do have this product available for purchase on my website. It's peaceandquilt.com, or you can even just search my name, Natalia Bonner, and it'll pull up. But I love the texture that I'm able to create with the Quilter's Dream wool batting. It's a really nice, it has a nice drape, it folds nice, it has a nice bit of loft to it, but it's not too hot. Like, I could go on for hours with all the reasons why I love that batting. It's not necessarily something that I use on every single quilt. The other batting that I love is the Quilter's Dream Poly Deluxe batting. I use that a lot for more edge-to-edge type quilting and things like that. But for my custom work, I just really love that wool batting. So those are some of the basics. I'm going to scroll through here and answer a few of the questions. So if you are just joining, I mentioned this at the beginning, but starting next Friday, every Friday, I'm going to post a question and answer video. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask them, and then I will try to do, well, I will do a follow-up or an answer video every Friday. Some of the videos will be live here, live like this, here on Facebook on Fridays. The time will vary. I mentioned at the beginning, I'm a working mom, so I have to work around my kids. But the video will be here, and it will also be posted over on YouTube. If you don't already follow me over on YouTube, you should. Just search my name, Natalia Bonner. Every single Monday I post a new video over there. That is a machine quilting video. I've got a lot of tutorials, a lot of just all sorts of different machine quilting videos that I share over there. I'm gonna have a drink of water real quick, and then I'll answer some of these questions. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we're going wild again. Okay, I just saw one pop up. The one that just popped up is, do you use pantographs? I can't see your name yet who asked that, but you, as soon as this video ends, please come back and watch from the start, because I talked all about pantograph patterns. I don't use them anymore because I do have the computer on my machine now that I use for that type of quilting, but you should use them if you don't have it. They are an amazing tool, and yes, please use Pantos. They're awesome. Okay, let's see what other questions were asked on here. It's so fun to see where you're all from. Okay, so here's a question. How do you get your inspiration for free motion quilting? So this is a question that I get asked all the time. And the other question along with that is, how do you decide what you're going to quilt where? If you are struggling and needing inspiration, things like that, more instructional type videos, please check out my Patreon page over there. Ooh, somebody left an angry face. Don't know who that was, but let's keep this positive here. So over on Patreon, twice a month, I share step-by-step videos showing exactly my thought process, how I quilt a whole entire quilt. Plus I'm sharing lots of other videos and things like that over on Patreon. It is a subscription service. I've had people email me, why does that have to be a subscription service? There's a lot of work that goes into it. Plus I have to pay somebody to edit all of my videos. So it makes it pretty difficult for me just to put tons of information out there when it's actually costing me money. So if you are interested in that, it's definitely more educational. And I'll answer some more questions in a second. Okay, so next question. Someone just said, why do you not ship to Brazil? I do. Just email me. The shipping charges internationally are very, very high. Also on my website, there's a little bit that talks about the pricing. It's really expensive to ship outside of the United States. Okay, let's see. How do you keep your quilt from bouncing up and down when it's on the long arm? I have to hold my hand on the quilt to keep it still. So Cheryl asked that question. Sometimes I do have a little bit of bounce in my quilts, and I often get the comment that your quilts look like they're paper flat on the machine. No, my quilts are not paper flat. There is a little bit of movement. You know, if I put my hand on there, I can get a little bit of play. You don't want your quilts to be like paper tight on your machine, because you'll actually start to get problems, you know, as far as skip stitches, things like that. It'll mess with your tension if your quilt is too tight. The reason that my quilts appear that way in my machine quilting videos is because I most often, for free motion quilting, have my extended base plate on the machine. So that's the plate that extends my working surface, and you do need to have that on there for any ruler work. I leave it on all the time, and I feel like it kind of helps make a little bit more smooth surface. I also do rest my hand on my quilt. You know, that's just something I've always done, and I don't feel like I get as much vibration. So, okay, let's see. Darlene asks, thank you, Darlene. She says, I'm a big fan, and I know what threads you routinely use to quilt your quilt. Is there a time you use cotton? What kind, upper or bottom? I don't ever really use just cotton threads on my quilts. You know, when I started out quilting, I was on this mission to figure out what type of products worked best for me and help me achieve the results that I want on my quilts. So again, I say this all the time, just because I use specific products, it doesn't mean that's what you have to use in your quilt. You know, these are just my opinions and the products that I like to use to get my results. There is a time and a place for every product out there, in my opinion. So try them out and see what works for you. But I know someone's going to ask in just a second, what threads do you use then? So my favorite threads to use on the top are So Fine by Superior Threads. And then on the bobbin, I love to use Bottom Line, which is also a Superior Threads product. I do also have those on my website, peaceandquilt.com. I just love the look that I am able to create with those threads. I love that they're not super linty. I love that they blend really nicely. Even though my machine quilting does stand out a lot with, you know, on the quilts that I'm quilting and things like that, I tell people all the time that what I'm trying to create with my machine quilting is more of a texture, the texture that you see, not necessarily the thread. I don't want my quilts to be super thready looking. That's why I'm using threads that blend really well. I have a client that loves for me to use contrasting threads, and that's great. That's the look that she wants on her quilt. So then I will use higher contrast threads for her. But it's totally out of my comfort zone. I like things that blend more. So that's why I use what I use. All right, let's answer some more. Fran says, how long are the videos on Patreon? The video that I posted today was 25 minutes long. So they are definitely longer, more instructional type videos. Okay, Thank you, Claire. Okay, let's see. There's other ones. Let's see what else is. Oh, I love this. Okay, these are the ones that make me super excited and happy. Sorry, it's taking me, I have to read through the questions and then, okay, so Barbie says, after watching you use one hand, I started doing it and I thought it was easier. I'm fairly new at doing custom. Yes, I love that so much. And that's why I say try things out. You know, try one-handed, try two-handed. You never know what might work better for you. And you might be able to hear children playing in the other room because this is the real life of a working mom. Will I show you the ruler foot? Check out some of my, oh, we're falling again. Check out some of my other machine quilting videos. I'm not quilting right now, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to show you that foot, but pretty much every single machine quilting video that I am doing, I'm using either the spoon foot or the ruler foot. I also have some aftermarket ruler feet available on my website if you are interested in working with a ruler. Christina asks, are you going to be at MQX East? I taught there last year. I will not be there this year. I was invited to come teach, but I actually have another event this same week, the other side of the country, so I won't be at MQX East this year, but most likely the next. Okay, let's see. Okay. So the next question is, so I recently showed a blue and white quilt and I used white thread on the entire back of the quilt. And so the question is, let's see, how do you keep the white thread from showing through on the blue areas on the top? So on that particular quilt, I just make sure your tension's adjusted really, really perfectly. This is my favorite notion as far as tension goes, and if you don't have one of these, you should have one. So it's probably backwards, but this is the TOA bobbin gauge. I have these available on my website for both domestic and the, you know, both sizes of bobbins. This thing helps you measure your tension. I know that there's the little trick that you can, you know, hold your thread in your hand and try to check your tension, your bobbin tension that way. When I tried that, personally, I didn't have great results with my tension. Also, using the bottom line thread, I swear, makes a big difference. But using the TOA gauge and making sure that your bobbin is adjusted correctly is, as far as tension, the biggest thing that I can recommend. Because once you have your bottom adjusted correctly, then you can adjust your top accordingly. So as far as machine quilting, I feel like the TOA gauge is pretty much a must-have. Okay, so Tanya says, why not? Sorry, I'm just following up now on your question about shipping to Brazil. The website will not allow international shipping because that price is so high. You do have to email me. Okay, let's see. I don't have a video telling the reasons thread breaks. I'm sorry about that. Let's see, we'll answer just a couple more. We'll do 2 more questions and then make sure you hop over to YouTube to check out all my videos over there. Just search my name, Natalia Bonner, and starting next Friday, every Friday, I will have a new question and answer video for you. So let's see what else. So Beth says, do you have a quick set tension on your machine? I'm looking at long arms down, not sure if I need this. No, I don't. This is my tension, my bobbin tension gauge, and then I just will adjust my top tension accordingly. So hope that kind of answers that question. Okay, so next question, why do you use different thread on top and bottom? So the bottom line thread is bobbin thread. It's made intended for bobbin, so I'm not going to use that on the top of the quilt. I love the results that I've achieved with that. I know the quilt police that I do not believe in will tell you you have to use the same thread on the top and the bottom. I don't believe in the quilt police. If I'm getting good results, then I'm happy with that. Okay, there's still a few more, so I'll answer just a couple more, even though I said only 2 more. Yay, one more that drives with one hand. Yes, and Claire says, I love my TOA. Use it almost every bobbin. Yes, totally agree. And Doris says the same thing. It's totally worth it. So I agree. Thanks everybody for joining me today. Make sure you check, like I said, check out my YouTube videos. And next Friday, I will have another question and answer video. So I'm excited to share more with you every Friday. See ya, everybody.